Super. So we are back and we have Hexeosis joining us. Hello, how are you doing?
Morning or good evening for you, huh?
Yeah, good evening for you and good morning, afternoon for
Yeah,
you, right?
yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you. And I'm very looking forward to this chat. I think maybe we can start with I guess like a little bit of context and maybe like a quick introduction, and then we can like go straight into when like this whole journey started for you with crypto art and kind of like how it led you up to what it is today, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I got involved in crypto art kind of like in increments in a way. I think the very first crypto things I did with art was probably on Steam. I had a friend that got me involved in that back in like 2017, I think. And it was it was trying to be like a social. If you're not familiar with the idea, I think Cent tried to recreate a similar idea on Ether network. Where it's more like a social media kind of a thing. So you're not tokenizing or making NFTs. You would upload an artwork, and then if someone likes it, you get a couple of cents. And that was kind of fun. I stuck with it for a couple of months, but it felt like at the end of the day, it wasn't really worth it to get $10 to go through all that effort. Like it was a lot of work to post something, and it just felt like it was better just to stick with social media. Because like the background of Hexeosis as it started as like a social media art project on Tumblr back in like 2013. So I had already been kind of creating digital artworks and posting them on the internet, and I just kind of vaguely became aware of these crypto art things through other people that I followed. And I started seeing people post about crypto voxels and super rare a lot it's probably like 2019, maybe like early, probably about 2 years ago now. A couple artists that I had known for years had suddenly started posting, and it was really weird to me at first. Crypto voxels looked absolutely terrible in early days. As these weird like black and white blocks, but then all the text on their post, they were so excited. I was like, why are these guys so enthusiastic about black and white blocks? I don't like it. Honestly, it took me about 6 months of seeing people, repeatedly post how excited they were about crypto voxels. I'm like, okay, I have to figure this out. Like, and then once I did get into it, it was really fun. So I think it was kind of like over the, late 2019 is when I found super rare, and it was really early days then too. People were selling things for maybe $20, or if someone made $100 sale, that was like a record. That was a big deal. And I remember thinking, it's like, yeah, that is a big deal actually, because I've been putting GIFs on Tumblr for free for 10 years. It's like I would take $5 a GIF, at this point. So I started thinking, it's like, well, maybe I should re-examine this crypto art idea and get more involved. And so I sent an application to Super Rare in like December of 2019. And I've been, I guess since then, this is like the first time I've taken a break, maybe this past month or so. Like I've been kind of continuously working and tokenizing since then. It's been fun.
And what did you think when you first kind of got into this? Like you were seeing like other artists posting about it. Like what was your first impression? Like were you like, what is this? Or were you like aware of like crypto and like cryptocurrency, so you kind of like came from that kind of side? Or talk a little bit about that.
I knew about cryptocurrency. I knew what Bitcoin was since the very beginning. Like I'm a big internet person as well. Like in addition to art and computer art, I also just love everything about internet. And like I feel like I've been on the internet since it was possible to be on the internet. Like in the old days of just text messages, or like you ping your friend directly to their IP address, and it's just type. And so like I've been around since like the web evolved, and video on the web, and like all these advancements. And so to me, like cryptocurrency was just like another advancement of like internet and computer. Like it felt like the same group of people kind of like moving and advancing. So I didn't get heavily involved into like Bitcoin, but like I did mine, Dogecoins when that came out. Like I got into like some of the funnier like meme crypto things, and like I made an animated Dogecoin GIF that spun around. Like I got into some of the fun stuff, but I didn't get hardcore into it until later. But so like when I heard about Super Rare, it's like it kind of like, luckily I had enough pieces. Yeah, it's like I didn't know what much about Ethereum, but I knew about Bitcoin. I knew about blockchain. Like I knew what blockchain. Like I knew the fundamentals behind it, but I didn't know what an NFT was. So I had to like, it was like I knew 50% of it, and the other 50% I felt like I was catching up for a couple months there.
And you mentioned that obviously like your practice, like what you do, like you've been doing this for years. So was it like almost very natural for you to kind of like keep creating and like tokenizing work simply like on the blockchain?
Yeah.
And yeah, like maybe talk a little bit about like your, like I'd love to know more about your like creative practice. Like the stuff that you do is so like I'm just looking, I have your Super Rare profile up. I'll share my screen, but I'd love to like dig a bit deeper into actually like your artwork and like what you do.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, it's I've been doing Hexeosis like full time now since 2013, so about 8 years maybe. I used to be a creative director at a motion graphics studio, like full time, probably for like 12 or 13 years. Prior to that, we did advertising mostly, and like television show openings and movie titles, and like I've worked on all kinds of stuff that people have probably seen, but I don't claim it anymore. Like I work under the name Hexeosis for the past 8 years. It's like I left that behind in some ways. So for me, oh, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
Why Hexeosis? Like, what is the meaning behind it?
Oh, it's a combination of two words. It's a combination of hexagon and apotheosis. So it's, what's funny is like I wanted to, because I worked in advertising for so long that like I have like a really strong understanding of branding and marketing, and like I used to direct TV commercials for large corporations and brands, and it's like your name is super important, and the icon, your logo is super important, your color scheme. Like I knew all that stuff when I started, and I brainstormed names like for a week. Like I have like sheets with like tons of names. And then I searched the internet because I wanted something that no one had ever used before. So like if you Google, Hexeosis, it's just going to go to me, because I could have called myself like Polygon Master or something. But then, if you Google Polygon Master, you're going to get, that's going to match 1,000 different things, right? Like, so it was tricky. So it's kind of like a game of like, can I come up with something that's meaningful and interesting and also unique? It hasn't been used before. I came up, it is a combination, apotheosis is the idea, like in art, you're trying to elevate a subject matter to like a high status is basically what apotheosis means in art. And so I was, it's probably pretentious to say I'm elevating hexagon to this high status, but that's kind of those are the thoughts in my head when I was coming up with the name. I don't.
It pretty much seems so from the art.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I actually did Google you, and you are the only thing that comes up if you go on Google. So mission accomplished on that, even almost, let's say, almost 10 years from when you created it.
That's awesome. I have noticed a couple of people use the Hexeosis username on some platforms. There have been a couple of times when someone had already taken my name, like they had copied it, like after the fact. But for the most part, I think I have most of them. Yeah. So.
I'd love to know more about how you go about like creating what you do, and what is the process behind it. Like where does it start, and how does it end up being what we're seeing on the screen now, which is incredible.
Oh yeah, thanks. It's kind of like I say, because I have a background in like I've been doing computer animation my whole life. Like I started in the 70s when if you wanted to do animation or art on a computer, you had to know code. There was no drawing or animation programs. And so throughout the years, I've kind of taken that mentality with me, but I do use like animation software now. I know a lot of people think I'm using coding but I'm using a combination of After Effects and Cinema 4D. So most of these are actually in 3D, like in Cinema 4D. I just render it in such a way that they look flat. You know, like a lot of what I'm trying to do is create, it's not so much like an optical illusion, but like I'm trying to make something where you can't tell what it is. Like you can't tell if it's 3D or 2D, or, you know, sometimes a shape will be coming towards you and you think it's something, but then if you look at it again, it flattens out and it turns into a different shape. Like those are the fun moments that I'm trying to create. Like I'm trying to make it so you can't necessarily tell what's happening. And so the way I do that is, I mean, you know, technically speaking, it's the compositions are set up in Cinema 4D. I use the MoGraph tools in Cinema 4D that are built into it a lot. So they have like built-in ability to take like one 3D object and you can clone it in a circle or a geometric pattern. And then I have create all these animated textures. So all the color changes happen in After Effects, like on a flat 2D texture. And then I project that or map it onto this 3D geometry. So that's where some of the trickery comes into play too. Because I'll take, say, like a pretty simple 2D changing color stripe thing, but using weird UVs and weird geometry, like I can map that around this kind of shape. And then when you duplicate that shape, that's when you create a lot of these patterns.
That's awesome. And the colors, like obviously, you know, you have like a very almost like set palette of like very strong colors, which is so unique to you, right? Like, you know, I think I tend to like recognize and be like, okay, yeah, this is Hexeosis because of the color palette. Has that always been like this? Like it's always been kind of like how you work around your artworks?
Yeah, actually, yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Like to me, the color is actually the most important part. Like the colors are more important than the shape. And a lot of my GIFs actually start with the color palette first. Like before I even know how the shapes are going to go, I have in mind like, okay, I want something that's, you know, 75% orange, and 25% blue. Like I think that in my head, it's like that. It's like a laundry list almost. And then I sit down and I might like rough it out, you know, just in Photoshop or in Illustrator. Like I'll make a square that's, you know, 50% orange with a green, and it's not even following the shapes, just as like a color exercise. And then, you know, like I'm mentioning, like I've basically built like a toolkit for myself. So I have a lot of these 2D animated color changing things that I can then, it's like I created my own palette now. So I have, you know, I have like 20 of these things ready to go, and I can mix and match them then and see which ones work better. And like you say, it's like I've predetermined all my own colors. So I think a lot of times, you know, like I always go the extra 10 miles, I guess is what I'm saying. So like I might be using After Effects. Like you can go into After Effects, and if you want to change the color of something, you can do it really easy by setting like 2 keyframes where you just rotate through all the hues. But After Effects is a computer, and it's just going to pick random colors. You know, like if you're animating from green to blue in After Effects, it's going to pick the in-between ones for you, which is great for most of it if you're trying to save time. But that's not how I do it. Like I actually go in and tell it each hue that it's dropping on and each place. Like I set all, like it's a lot of actual tedious work to go through and animate it so that like I'm not just animating color wheels or just shifting the hue. Like each hue is actually selected. Like I don't just try to change a pink into like a purple. And like part of that is because of how color is represented in a computer. Like there's really specific ways that computers make yellow, and the specific way it makes purple, and it's different. So it's like you have to kind of know, I don't know. I get pretty deep into the color part of it, where it's like, you know, certain color combinations you just can't do on a computer, so I don't even try. And I feel like over the years I've internalized a lot of that, you know, where it's like I have a pretty good instinct of like what a computer can handle color-wise and what it can't do. And then I'm working within the limitations, but maybe it's not that obvious because I know where they are, so I can like push on the boundaries.
That's super interesting. The part of the color, like, so is it like you've almost like created these colors like within you know, your practice, and so you've set them kind of like how you would like exactly to look like, so that they result in the
right.
Wow, okay, interesting. And I guess, you know, another question that kind of like pops out, like obviously like a lot of what you do is almost like kind of like your like it's like obviously like has a visual effect, but also like almost like a mental effect. Like you feel like you can't stop looking at it, and but also it kind of makes you dizzy at the same time. Like it's a bit of that weird feeling. Like is that kind of what you want to like recreate? Is it something that you find yourself when creating?
Yeah, that's kind of fun too. Like I definitely have accidentally hypnotized myself while working on things. I mean, especially the one you have up right now, the middle one, the circle one. That's one of my personal all-time favorites. And I definitely like stared at that for like a half an hour myself, where it's, that is something I'm doing on purpose too, but it's fun to explore where, if you take, say like the speed of the animation and slow it down a lot, you can find like the right pulse where it kind of synchronizes with your like brain waves or whatever. Like if you're in a relaxed mental state, there's like a certain wave and speed that feels right. Or if you're listening to like, club music and you're ready to go out, it's like you take this same thing and speed it up like 3 times, then suddenly it's like, yeah, you're like dancing and fun. So like over the years, like I kind of like, you can take like different patterns seem to work better or worse with different tempos, and I can kind of play around with that too. The way I design these, I almost always animate them way longer than they need to be, which means they're slower if I play it at the regular speed. And then I'll kind of like speed it up or slow it down as part of the process to see what feels right. A lot of, most of my GIFs, they probably have like 12 or 15 steps. Like it might not be obvious, but like I go back and forth from like one software to the other. And like I'll use, like I'll retime them all at the end in like Photoshop or something for some reason. I'm like speeding them up or slowing them down. There's a lot of fine tuning.
Yeah, there's so many details as well. Like it's, even like looking up at one of your latest pieces, like on Super Rare, I feel like there's so much, like this specifically, like there's so much like going on, it's like, it's like a lot of things that are kind of like, mixed together and almost like fit like perfectly. So yeah, like how is that, how do you kind of like really create this perfect symbiosis of like everything kind of like coming up together so well?
Yeah, it's a lot of some of these I work on a lot, like I'll come back to them. Like the one you have on screen particularly, it's the kind of like I worked on it over the course of like 6 months probably, which probably people would find surprising too. So there's like an earlier version of this specific GIF, which looks like 80% like this. And it's something that like I'll make it and I leave it on my computer. And then when I have a moment, like I'll stare at it. So sometimes like I'll look at my own thing before posting it or sharing it. And I'll just like think like, how can I make this better? Or like, where does this break? Like if I'm being lulled into like self-hypnosis, like where does it not work? Like, and then like I'll go in and I'll be like, oh, okay, when that red square jumps out, that kicked me out of the hypnosis. So then I'll go in and edit that part out, or like you're saying, like the pieces fitting together. It's the kind of thing too, like I'll watch it for like 10 minutes and then maybe I'll realize something. I'll be like, oh, you know what? If I move that dodecahedron, 10 pixels to the right, it'll fit into this other shape when that shape does this thing. So it's a lot of trial and error a little bit and fine tuning. And then I'll come back to things. Like then sometimes I'll just leave it and I'll be like, okay, I'm not sure. Like it doesn't feel right and I don't know why. And then maybe I'll come back to it like a month later and then it'll be more obvious to me. Or, sometimes I'll break it down and I'll just focus on one part. Like I'm just going to work on this dots part, like I'm just going to make the dots work the right way. And then maybe I'll come back to the rest of it later, So I try not to put too much pressure on myself to get any one thing to work at any one time. And then I think that helps because I'm allowed to move around and experiment with that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I guess also like, you mentioned before that you kind of like initially, like when you started, you were obviously like using code to, produce like what you were doing. So has in a way like obviously like the involvement of digital art has obviously changed like the way that you create, but has like this ecosystem and like crypto art specifically also kind of like changed how you know your creative practice and like your body of work and what you do, or is it always, you know, kind of consistent into what you've built?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure. You know, it's interesting how, you know, like for me, when crypto came along, it felt like it was almost designed for me. Like I didn't have to change a whole lot of what I was doing
Yeah.
in order to make these show up on like super rare as gifts. Like it felt like a natural progression for me, you know. And like even when I was posting things on social media in the old days, like I would think like, man, it would be great if there was a way to monetize this, you know, or to get paid, and it didn't have to be advertising driven, or you know, or that could work, you know, that has worked for certain like YouTube or something. But with gifts, it was like I was waiting for someone to invent this, and then when they invented it, it just made sense. It's like, yeah, of course, they invented this for me. I think, you know, like when it feels like, oh, this is perfect, you know, this is the way GIF artists can make money. So, you know, for me, it's like, it's interesting because it's like I didn't quit my job to do crypto art. Like I know a lot of people said they quit, but I am doing crypto art full time. Like I didn't have to quit my job because I already quit my job like 8 years ago. You know, like I've been Hexeosis, and I do, you know, freelance projects. Like I have a lot of clients that will hire me to design things. And so I think, you know, for crypto art now, it's given me more like freedom to where I can do these things as like a primary activity rather than like a side activity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
So I was doing 90% side activity and 10% primary activity for the past 8 years anyway. You know, it's like I was doing Hexeosis. I can't stop doing this. So like I'm glad crypto art came along to like save me. It's like I would be doing these for free and not earning a living, and you know, figuring out ways to monetize. Like I figured out a million different ways to monetize these things, and crypto art's been like the best. You know, it's like the most straightforward, like most obvious way. You know, like even like, you know, you mentioned my desktop pattern. Like
Yeah.
on my website, you know, like I sell, like you can download a pack of desktop patterns. You know, like I tried to monetize everything I did, you know, for years on the internet. You know, so before crypto art, Hexeosis already had like 4 or 5 different revenue streams. You know, like I have like a Vimeo on demand video. Like I used to sell stickers that I would mail to people, and you know, you could download a wallpaper pack for $2 or something like that. It's like all these things never really added up to much, but crypto art, to me, it's like it's just completely different now. It's like a whole new.
That's I think I've heard this like you know, a lot, and it's great. It's like, you know, finally there's like a creator economy where, you know, it makes sense, you know, what the input equals, you know, some form of output rather than just input and, you know, very little output or no output at all, actually.
Right.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier in the conversation around like crypto voxels and you know, the metaverse. Like I'd love to tap into this and also like understand, you know, what, you know, your views about the metaverse and also what you've been doing like in the metaverse, because I know you were, you know, as you said, like quite early on into crypto voxels and trying to like figure it out, and I guess a few years have passed now, so I'd love to share, like talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I really I really like crypto voxels. I have 3 parcels on the original Origin City crypto voxels island, which I really enjoy. It took me a while, like I said, like it took a while for it to click, but then once I got it, I really got into it. Because like I do play online video games. Like I like games that where, you know, you have a lot of people all at once, and you can. I play a game everyone hates, Fallout 76 online, and in Fallout 76, like you can build your own base. So like I have a character online that, you know, like I have a base and I sell, you know, weapons and armor in the game. So for me, it was like the way the metaverse with crypto art, it makes sense to people that play games, because I'm like, oh, okay, so I can set up a virtual store in crypto voxels that sells my virtual artworks now. It's the exact same thing I'm doing in a video game at night when I'm, you know, spacing out. So instead of selling like a rifle to some guy, now I'm selling him a GIF, you know, and instead of getting, you know, gold coins, I'm getting ether. It's the same thing, you know. So like I got, like, once it clicked in my head, I got really into it. And to be honest, I'm not, like, I wish I could do more, because like I feel like my crypto voxels parcels are unloved at the moment. One of them I recently redid in like April for a thing I did. I did like my own solo show. Like I just, remade a parcel and made a gallery and put up like 12 artworks that I had done. And it's like, to me, like that's one of the cool things about the metaverse.
Yeah.
Like I understand why people like joining things. Like I'm probably one of the least joiny people. Like I feel bad. Like I hope people don't think I hate them or I'm antisocial, but it's like I almost never participate in like Discords or chat. It's just like I'm usually just making work. Like I don't have all this time to hang out. But I do like the metaverse part of it, where it's like, okay, you can make like a 3D building and you can make a cool avatar and you can go there and then you're hanging out, but it's like fun and you're chatting. It's not just like you're just typing text in a box. Like typing text in a box, to me, it's like we've been doing that on the internet now for 30 years. It's like the metaverse feels like so much better. It's like so cool. It's just like you just have avatars and you can communicate so much just by your avatar. Like just what do you look like,
Yeah, no, I think I understand. I think it's definitely a very, let's say, crypto art native kind of space. Like it's something that is very unique to this ecosystem. But I do think that there's like a part of like animosity that kind of like stays, and so that is also like, I think very liked about that, the metaverse, that essentially you don't have to really like, you don't even have to speak if you don't want to, like you can just kind of like roam around, which is also nice. But I was also wanting to get your thoughts around like kind of like architecture and like building in the metaverse, because I think that's like such an interesting topic, and also like a form, like a form of creativity as well that like artists can tap into. What do you think about that?
I think it could be better. I mean, I see a lot of potential. The way it is now is great. It's like a great start, but it's like, again, because like I play online video games too, and there's a disparity in like user interface or like ease of interface. Like CryptoVoxels is not easy necessarily to build stuff, and it gets more esoteric the more specialized you want to do. So like I think the basic part of CryptoVoxels, if you're just putting blocks down, that's pretty easy. And then as soon as you want to change the colors, it gets hard. And as soon as you want to like put crypto art up, it's, so I know they're working on that. The team is making improvements all the time. Like those guys, the guys running it are awesome. I mean, they're constantly like fixing it, but it feels like it's like, I have a vision in my head of how this could be. And it's not like there's a disparity. Because like, for example, in an online game, like Fortnite or something, like if you're building a fort, you're using like pre-made walls. Like an artist already designed a wall and an artist already designed like a doorway and a window. And then you just snap the pieces together. It's kind of like Legos. Like I think maybe the future of the metaverse would be something like that, where it's more approachable, that you can have more pre-made things to snap together. And then there's a marketplace to make the pre-made things. So someone like me could come along and say, well, okay, I'm going to make a building kit for someone. And then you could buy the kit from me and you put the pieces together. Like I'm starting to see some of that happen.
Like building.
Like people will sell like a whole building now. Like I've seen that in Decentraland. You can buy like a pre-made gallery building and you just drop it down on your parcel, and then everyone can, you just put your artwork in it. And like, I think that kind of stuff is the future, where it's like, you don't have to be so hands-on technical, that there's like a middle ground, so it's like, we're not doing everything for you, but you're getting some, you're not at entry level. Like,
have you built yourself like in CryptoVoxel? So you've built your,
I did. I have like one main, like I call it the Hexeosis Museum. It's not really a gallery because nothing there's for sale. It's like everything's been bought already, but it's a lot of the probably like the first 20 or 30 things I did on Super are up there. And it's like a 2-story building. Like I designed it kind of.
That's amazing.
And then the other ones are really minimal. Like I kind of like that you can just do whatever you want, and you can change them all the time. I'm actually having anxiety now about changing the 3 things I have, because it's like, well, what about history? Like if I tear down a building and replace it with a new building, it's like metaverse history of that parcel. It's like, oh, there used to be a museum here and now it's just parking lot.
Maybe it's like there has to be some way to almost like store that metaverse kind of like history somewhere, so that it's like, at that point in time, that building was there and this happened,
Right.
and yeah.
We like flip a switch and go back to like, oh, this is how it was in 2015.
Yeah, exactly.
Of March. Yeah, that'd be cool.
And actually, talking about museums, obviously, like MOCA has built the museum in the metaverse. Like, what are your what are your thoughts around that? And what are your thoughts around the vision and everything that kind of like Colburn and Shivani and the team there are building?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm a big fan of like the people that are doing, say, like curation or promotion or collecting. Like, it's like the category of people that are not like the artists making the art. Like I think like what Colburn was doing with like Museum of Crypto is, for me, was like really cool because it adds like an extra component that I'm not good at, which is promotion or curation or presentation even. It's like I can make artwork and I can put it out there the best I can, but then it's like I want to go back to making more artwork. Like I don't want to spend all week on the internet saying, hey guys, come and look at my stuff. And I think like for me it's like that's one of the best benefits of, say, like what the curators are doing, or people that organize these museums. It's like they're spending their time to say, oh, look at all this great art, and I'm going to put it all together in one place and make it easy for people to see. I know like curation is like a thing that it messes some people up in their head. Like they think, like some people get confused and they think curation is censorship, but curation is essential for humans. Like I just think there's so many people on Earth right now, and there's so many things going on that like if you don't turn to curators, you're spending all your time looking for stuff yourself then. Which is great if you have that kind of time, but it's just so hard. So I think like if you connect with someone that has a similar taste to you, it's like perfect. It's like it's shorthand then. It's like, oh, Museum of Crypto, I know they have good taste. I know they're, if I look at what they're building, if I go to their space and metaverse, it's going to be great, and the artwork's going to be great. And it's like a quicker way to get into things, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think I've talked I've touched the topic of curation like quite a few times, and it's almost like a black and white topic. Like either you are okay with it or you absolutely hate the word.
Sure.
So I tend to use it with care and carefulness, because you never know what the reaction will be. But I definitely agree. I think I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. Like, I'm sure, when you kind of like started in 2019 and 18, like the space obviously was very, very smaller, like much smaller than it is now. So how do you, what do you see some kind of like, ways that the space can evolve? And also like, how do you see, artists kind of like building on what the current state of the ecosystem is?
I think, for me, I guess what I'm hoping that it'll continue to evolve to where it becomes more like a normal thing. That it's like NFTs, it's like the same thing as like sending a tweet or something. Like sending tweets now is completely normal, I think, or like posting on Facebook is normal. But like I remember, say, 15 years ago, posting on Facebook was a weird thing. People are like, oh, you're seriously? You're writing on my wall? What does that mean? I wrote on your wall. Let's friend each other. Like it was really clunky and awkward. But then like it goes in like, so I still feel like NFTs are in the clunky and awkward phase. I mean, even with Beeple and the record setting sales and the, Sotheby's, and like, it's still really early to me. Like that just feels like these are the first people that paid attention outside of that bubble, So like I miss the early bubble days. Like I am like one of those early adopter people. Like I am always looking for like, what is the next new crazy thing? Because like I do love that energy when it's like, okay, 10 people are doing this. Like I was on the Discord of CryptoVoxels a lot early on, and there was like 10 active users. It's like, oh, I'm gonna, if the main guy's not here, I'll ask his friend who's always on. I miss that energy, but I always know that never lasts. I mean, because like if you're building something really cool and really fun, you're gonna want to share it with everyone. And it's gonna have to grow. And I think that's the hard part for some people, because you have to make things more accessible at some point. Like it's irresponsible in a way to make a really convoluted technical thing that's impossible for people to get into and then promote it and get people excited about it, and then they find out there's 2,000 technical steps that they don't understand. Because like I did try to onboard a lot of my friends, you know, over the past couple of years, and it's various people hit roadblocks at different places. You know, it's like some people are just like, I don't understand what this MetaMask thing, like I don't know what a wallet is. You know, just like a basic level. Like I think a lot of this stuff just needs to be easier. You know, like easier to get into and easier to set up. And I think that'll just happen naturally over time. Like I don't think anyone has to try to force it to happen, but it'll just get used to it. Because like I remember the first time I ever bought something on Amazon, and I told people about it at work, and they're like, why would you do that? You know, why would you put your credit card on the internet? That's stupid. Like you just gave all your bank information to some scam company called Amazon.com, and now they probably they have all your financial information now. You know, like that's how people used to think. I'm like, no, I think they just sell books. I think it's innocent. I was wrong too. But, you know.
So on this note, then what is something, are you like, you know, what is you think the next kind of like niche interesting thing that will pop up, or maybe like something that you're seeing already?
I mean, what I hope happens is that the things that are happening now just become more sophisticated. Like I like the avatar idea. Like I like the idea that you can have an avatar that's an NFT. I'm not convinced that the best avatar is like a pixelated picture or something. Like I know like people get really into these collectible things, and that's great. Like I like collectibles, you know, I collect things myself. But you know, like if that's going to be your avatar on the internet, maybe there's like a lot more opportunities. You know, like it could be really cool to have like, okay, my avatar is an NFT, and that avatar works everywhere. You know, maybe it's like it's a little square when you're on Twitter, and when you're in Fortnite, it's a full 3D body that you can walk around on, and it's a costume. You know, and then you're in Crypto Voxels, and maybe it's a less detailed body, but it looks the same. You know, maybe you're just like a blocky version of it. And then those NFT avatars could be designed by, you know, studios or artists or company. You know, maybe there's an exclusive Kanye avatar that there's only 10 copies of it, and only 10 people in the world have that or something. Or, you know, there's the Hexeosis avatar edition of 100, you know, and there are these cool, you know, pixelated
that's a super cool idea, actually.
I'm not sure how that works on a technical level. I'm just thinking like on an artistic level, how it would.
Yeah, it's like an interoperable avatar, basically.
Right. Like I know people are working on it, so it's kind of the thing. Like if people figure out the technical part of it, then I'll jump in with my art part of it. You know, like I'll write it. Like I try not to get too into the technical parts because I know other people are doing that anyway, and then I'll just I'll wait till they finish inventing it. But I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Actually, I never thought about it, but it's already. I mean, I know like, you know, collectibles and like avatars are such a big thing, but what it's like the interoperability of them is probably it's cool. And is there anything that you're working on specifically at the moment, or anything that's kind of like coming up for you?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because since I got involved in crypto art, this is like the longest break I've taken, and it's probably causing me a lot of anxiety. I posted or I tokenized a bunch of stuff in April on Super Rare, and that was like some of the biggest sales I've had. And it's, I guess, like for me, like one of the big things that I was hoping would happen with crypto art has come true, where it's given me enough space to like take time to explore ideas that I wouldn't have been able to before. So like for the past couple of months, I've been working on some like really new things, I think, it's different. It's like an evolution of what I'm doing, but also some of it's like a complete departure, like a whole different world now. I'll see how that's received. I don't know if it's going to go over or not, but it's like I've had time now to work on it. Whereas before crypto art, I felt like it's hard to justify spending a month making something if there's no way to monetize it.
Yeah, of course.
So like as an artist, a digital artist, it's like you're always thinking it's like I can't allow myself to work on something for more than a couple of days if I don't know how to sell it. You know, if it's just a fun personal project and I'm going to put it on Twitter and I'm going to get 100 likes, you know, I have to restrict how much time I spend on it. So now I feel like I have a lot of time. Like I've been learning new software and learning I reinvested a lot of the money I made in new computers. I mean, that's what this, I don't know if you can see it down there, this guy. So So I have like a whatever the latest 3090 graphics card, and I'm
Nice.
crazy 3D stuff that I hope people will like.
But it's still, so you said that you're kind of like departing from, what you've done, but it's still, in line with,
Yeah.
like, okay.
I believe that still in Hexeosis, it's going to be the same. Like, well, one thing you mentioned I really appreciate is that, like the idea that I have somehow like a signature color palette. Like I'm still going to use my same color palette. So like even though I'm making like 3D stuff now and like different compositions, it's like I'm still using the same colors. And then I still want to have like a heavy geometric influence and everything.
Yeah, I think, the color is like something that, I mean, to me, and maybe it's just a personal kind of like, appeal, but I definitely think that it's very recognizable. So it's good to know that it's actually like it's meant to be like that. And I think even though it's a lot of different colors, it's not like you have like one color palette. It's just, I don't know, it's like the composition of the color that is like very, very recognizable.
I tend to do things where it's like, I guess it's like I'm zooming out, like I think of things like in terms of like, even with the colors, I'm thinking sometimes in terms of ratios, where it's like I have 3 saturated colors and 5 desaturated, and that's like my formula. So it's like you feel that, like it's things that you don't necessarily explicitly think about, but you feel it when you look at it, and it's like that registers then as part of your style as well. No, it's good. I did do that on purpose too, as part of like the branding and marketing part of it as well, and also part of like a defensive measure, because so many things on the internet are stolen. It's like, I know, like, like the copyright debate, that's another fun landmine for crypto art, to talk about copyright. And I felt like, well, I've preempted the copyright issue by making things that are so distinctive that you can steal my GIF if you want to and try to tokenize it, and 10 people are going to yell at you and tell you that you stole it from Hexeosis, right? Because it's like so recognizable as my style that you can't steal it from. It's impossible. Like you could take it and say you made it, but no one will believe you.
That's so interesting. The copyright kind of topic is such a completely, I think, first of all, like, such a hot topic, but also like there's not really like a solution as of yet, right? Like you don't really, can't really solve it.
No.
And it's also like a very, a lot of people like don't believe in it, right? Like they believe in just,
yeah, it's funny. Well, because I think because copyright, it's different in every country. So like each country has its own laws. So then we have people like on one side of the planet arguing with people on the other side about what copyright is. And I was like, well, it's a legal definition. So you guys, you're both right and you're both wrong. And and then people that don't even believe in it, it's like, I feel like copyright's a lot of different things. Like copyright to Disney is a different thing than copyright to Hexeosis. Like theoretically we have access to the same laws, but we really don't, Like I've spoken to copyright lawyers before. Like in order to defend my copyright on something, it would cost like $10,000 to $20,000 in court fees. So it's kind of like, well, okay, yes, there are laws, but they're not accessible. They're not criminal laws. Like the police don't show up and arrest you for breaking copyright laws. It's something you have to solve yourself in litigation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not accessible for normal people.
Absolutely. I just wanted to close on like something that you mentioned before, which I think was really interesting, and it's like the way that you think about color, which you mentioned that it's around, like almost like geometrical as well. Like it kind of like all ties in. So I think that's super interesting, because it's so definite, like it's so defining of, of your style, like as a whole. Like it's all about, geometry, and I guess, the colors you just said, like I almost like fit, a ratio like of geometry within the colors too. So that's I don't know, I found that very, very interesting.
Yeah, I try to a lot of it, it's like it's about like it's like curating the colors in a way or something, like because like I'm not inventing colors, right? Like I didn't make color. It's like I'm picking them from like my surroundings. Like when I first started with Hexeosis, like the first probably 100 gifts or so, I restricted all the colors to things that I could get from like nature. like if, like neon orange almost never shows up just like in the landscape. So like I left that out for a while. Like I tried to just stick to like, earth tones or naturally occurring colors, or like I have like in my, or sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm just going to pick colors from like gemstones, like I'll look at like a bunch of like rubies and sapphires and diamonds and like what colors actually show up in the reflections. And like I'll pick like my sets of colors from like the real world a lot of times as a starting point, and then maybe like I'll tweak it, so it's like I have a set of colors that come from like, okay, this might be like a sunset and a landscape set, and then what happens if I add like neon pink and neon yellow to that set, like then that gets really interesting. Like I do a lot of color explorations like that.
That's amazing. That's super interesting. Well, thank you so much. I think this was great. Thanks a lot for like sharing all of it and chatting. I appreciate the time. I know you're not a big chatter or participator, so I appreciate it.
Right. No, it's for the record, not because I don't like talking to people. It's just I'm just so lost in my own world. It's like, because like I know people send me chats and sometimes I don't respond until like a month later, and I'm just like, oh, I feel terrible. Like I didn't need to reward this person, and then I've botched like so many collaborations over the past year. Like I started working on something and it just falls apart. I don't know. But yeah. But I am here. Yes, thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad I showed up.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.